Next up, I want to talk about some trades that I am currently in that I just picked up. We're going to talk a little bit about why I did it. So let's flip over to this chart. Now, I posted this on Twitter yesterday and saying that, number one, I had tried with my head trader last week to actually short VinFast over here. All right, what a short that would have been. I mean, it was ludicrous to see it up here. Now, I couldn't get any shares through my broker, so I had to sit on the sidelines. That's just part of being an investor. Sometimes you get shares to short, sometimes you don't. But what I do know is that the stock has now fallen from about a $90 high up here to now $18 down here. Now, the risk-reward assessment changes enormously. And this is where, listen, is this a high-risk play? This was by the way, this was a SPAC, and this is an EV company. All right, so again, these EV stocks, especially around the world, I believe this is, I'm not 100% sure, but I think it's an Indian company, which is fantastic. But again, the craziness of this is nuts. But I will say this, is you're now down into a gap fill here, right? So we're into gap fill. You're almost at this pivot low, and you're even not that far from here. So what I do, and what I did was I nibbled a little bit. And when I say nibble, what does that mean? Does it mean I'm going all in? No, it doesn't. What it means is I'm basically dipping a toe in the water, starting a small position, but leaving myself room in case it comes down a little bit further to these next levels, right? So again, it could come down to these next levels, not very far down, but by nibbling, if it bounces, I make money. If it comes down, I can accumulate the position. I can accumulate more of the position. So again, this is how I trade, folks. I'm always analyzing risk reward. And one of the keys, and this is so important, is as a new trader, I used to go in and I would go all in, right? Okay, well, all in, if you're right, is amazing. But I got news for you guys. Even me, I'm wrong on my first entry quite often. It's very hard, even when you're using technical analysis, to pick the exact low on a stock. And so what you want to do is, newbies do this. This is wrong. Okay? Always go into a trade assuming you're going to be wrong. What you'll find out is when you assume you're going to be wrong, you end up making more money. And so what I do is I basically say, okay, how many shares of an $18 stock, maybe it goes down to 12, 16, whatever, am I willing to buy? Let's just say 100,000 shares, right? If you're willing to buy 100,000 shares, divide it into 1/10. Okay? Now, every buy I make, for here, 10,000 shares, right? All right, now, if it goes here, add another 10,000, add another 10,000, 10,000, 10,000, and ultimately, at some point, you're going to have a dollar cost average in this range, and at some point, you're going to get a big bounce. And ultimately, this protects you because instead of your entry price being all in here and potentially having to stop out if it goes a little bit lower, you're buying and slowly accumulating. And when that bounce comes, not only is your average better, but you didn't get whipped out because you were doing small positions. Now, 10,000 shares may be like a lot to you guys, so just think of it in this case, 100 shares. All right, 100 shares, 100 shares, 100 shares, 100 shares, or 10 shares. It doesn't matter. Each individual account is totally different. The goal is, just because you have a small account, you shouldn't be taking more risk. There's a reason why Warren Buffett has made so much money, because as he gets his money, he's not putting it all in a trade. Learn from him, all right? He didn't start out a billionaire. He worked his way up. He did the smart ways of investing. When I started doing that, when I did this right here, I blew up my account so many times. I had 100,000 in my account, lost 70,000 in a day. Oh my God, I was devastated. All right, I reminded myself, how did I deal with that, by the way? I said to myself, okay, I got to put my computer after the end of the day when I lost 70K. So I lost 70% of my portfolio one day. And I got up and I said, okay, let me think rationally about this. And I said, do I have a roof over my head? Yes. Do I have my health? Yes. Do I have food on the table? Yes. So right away I said, the loss is a loss. You can't do anything about it. Let it go, learn from it, and just make sure those other three things you have. And I can make more money. I can work harder. All right, I've never shied away from working my butt off, thus getting to where I am. But you have to learn from your mistakes, and this was one of the mistakes I always made.